Zoya Alexeyevna Fyodorova was born on December 21, 1909, in St. Petersburg. The family of the future actress was not into the arts. Zoya's father Alexey Fyodorov was a worker, and after the revolution, he became the head of the passport service in the Kremlin. His wife was a housewife. The Fyodorovs moved to the capital when Zoya was 9 years old. Artistic by nature, Zoya dreamed of being an actress since childhood and was successful in her school's theater group, but her parents considered the girl's hobby to be a whim. Under pressure from her father, Zoya got a job as a clerk at the USSR state insurance, but she did not leave her dream of becoming an actress. In 1930 she entered school at the Revolution Theatre, now Mayakovsky Theatre. The talented student, Zoya, quickly attracted the attention of directors and began her career with cameo roles in Counterplan and Accordion. After graduating from drama school, Fyodorova got her first major role in Girlfriends. Zoya's personal life was as hectic as her career. As a student, she married actor Leonid Weisler, but the marriage soon fell apart. Her marriage with an actor called Vladimir Rapoport broke up too. The third husband of Zoya, the hero of the Soviet Union, pilot Ivan Kleshev, died in 1942. In 1936, Zoe's mother developed cancer. Her father found a good German doctor, but despite his best efforts, Zoe's mother passed away. And in 1938, that appeal to a German doctor meant that Alexey Fyodorov was arrested. He was accused of spying for Germany and England and sentenced to 10 years in the Osoblag. To rescue her father, Zoya Fyodorova, who had become a winner of the Stalin Prize by that time, asked Lavrenti Beria, a People's Commissar of Internal Affairs, for help. He was a fan of Fyodorova and helped her by securing early release for her father. In addition, according to some reports, Beria suggested Zoya to join the subversive detachment, in case the Nazis would take Moscow, and Zoya agreed. In 1941, Alexey Fyodorov was released due to his incapacity. His fingers were amputated on both hands, as they were frozen off in the Osoblag. Mr. Fyodorova died 3 months later. Oddly enough, being the daughter of the enemy of the people did not affect Fyodorova's career in any way, but she became the object of close attention and even harassment by Beria. Once, under the pretext of his wife's anniversary, he invited Zoya to his house on Kachalova Street. But neither the wife herself nor the guests were there. Beria immediately began to make advances to Fyodorova. Tired of fighting off the commissar, the actress insulted him and left. As she left the house, the doorman handed her a bouquet, and Beria, who was watching the leaving Fyodorova, shouted after her that this was not a bouquet, but a wreath. Zoya did not pay him any heed, and continued her life as an actress. In 1945, a meeting took place that would change Fyodorova's life forever. At a reception in honor of the Day of the Red Army, she met the head of the U.S. military mission, 46-year-old Jackson Robert Tate. Their relationship lasted only a year, but Tate became the father of her only child, her daughter Victoria. In 1946, Tate was expelled from the USSR. Zoya did not have time to inform him about the pregnancy, and Tate only found out about his daughter in 1964. Meanwhile, Zoya realized that after the expulsion of Jackson she was in danger. A role in an important stage play was given to another actress, and the portrait of Fyodorova was removed from the foyer of the theater. Soon the actress was accused of espionage in favor of the United States and was shipped off to the Lefortovo detention center. There, Zoya was scalded with boiling water in the shower, and then her fingers were broken, suspecting that she was planning to end her life. By a court verdict in 1947, all property and money were confiscated from Zoya and, despite her poor health and the fact that she had a daughter, was sent to Temlag for 25 years. After a short time, she was transferred to a prison in Chelyabinsk, and then to the famous Vladimir Central. Among the actress's cellmates was the singer Lydia Ruslanova, who was imprisoned because of the sensational trophy case. Despite Lydia's support, Zoya had a hard time in prison. Out of despair, she tried to ask for help from Beria, But the vengeful People's Commissar remained indifferent to the pleas of the former favorite. Here is a fragment of one of Fyodorova's letters. "I am asking you for help, save me. Difficult moments have come for me, even more than difficult, I would say, deadly. Save me. I understood my mistakes well and I appeal to you as to my own father. Bring me back to life. Why should I die?" Fyodorova's two sisters shared her faith. Maria was sentenced to 10 years of work at a brick factory in Vorkuta. She died in 1952, having served half of her sentence. Alexandra was exiled to the Kazakh village of Poludino. She took Zoe's daughter Victoria into her care, whom she raised with her children as her own. Zoya Fyodorova was released on February 23, 1955. She had nowhere to live, so Lydia Ruslanova took her in. And when Alexandra and her children returned to Moscow, Zoya took 9-year-old Victoria to Ruslanova's apartment. The girl had to get used to the fact that her real mother was Zoya. Soon Fyodorova was allocated a small 2-room apartment on Taras Shevchenko embankment. The years in prison destroyed Fyodorova's acting career. She managed to get a job in the troupe of the Theatre Studio of Cinema Actors, now National Film Actors Theatre, but she was invited to the film studios only for filming on small and secondary roles. However, the audience still loved her for her talent and brilliant acting. The last motion picture where the actress appeared in a cameo role was Moscow Does Not Believe in Tears, which won an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1980. In 1965, Fyodorova was awarded the title of Honored Artist of the RSFSR. However, the acting profession brought little money, and the Fyodorova family lived modestly. Everything changed in the mid-70s. Fyodorova received a good 3-room apartment in the Uneasy building on Kutuzovy Prospect. Judging by the furnishings, a large number of antiques, and the originals of paintings of famous artists on the walls, the financial health of the actress has improved significantly. This was facilitated by connections. Fyodorova made friends with Galina, the daughter of Secretary General Leonid Brezhnev, and Svetlana, the wife of Interior Minister Nikolai Shelikov, who were her housemates on the Taras Shevchenko embankment. At the suggestion of Brezhneva, literally obsessed with diamonds, Fyodorova began speculating in precious stones, gold, antiques, and rare paintings. Among her clients were mainly high-ranking officials and their relatives. The scheme worked flawlessly. Brezhneva recognized when a jump in jewelry prices was planned and gave a signal to her friends. They quickly bought up jewelry. The purchase price sometimes amounted to hundreds of thousands of rubles. The average salary in those years was 150 rubles, but speculators knew, after a jump in prices, their profit on the resale of goods would exceed the amount spent by 50, and possibly 100%. By this time, Zoya's daughter Victoria moved to live with her father in the United States, got married there, and gave birth to a son. Zoya also managed to see her former lover in 1976, when she went overseas to visit her daughter. After that, Zoya Fyodorova also decided to emigrate, but several attempts to obtain documents to leave the USSR failed. Nevertheless, according to some reports, in 1981 she still managed to get the coveted papers. According to one version, Victoria used all her connections in the United States to take her mother out of the USSR. But they were not destined to meet. It seems that Zoya Fyodorova understood that she was in danger. During one of the telephone conversations with her daughter, she dropped the phrase, "I will be killed soon," but Victoria did not attach any importance to these words. On the night of December 10th, Zoya spoke on the phone with one of her friends about the upcoming trip to Krasnodar, and at about 1 p.m. the actress received a call from a Mosfilm employee. After that, 71-year-old Zoya Fyodorova stopped communicating with family and friends. She did not open the door, and her phone was constantly busy. One of Fyodorova's friends, Margarita Nabokova, with whom Zoya had an appointment, came to her apartment twice, after which she left a note at the door. She contacted Yuri, the nephew of the actress. He had spare keys, and asked him to urgently come to Kutuzovy Prospect. Arriving, Yuri noticed that a light was on in the windows of Fyodorova's apartment. When he knocked, the door was not opened. He used his spare keys to enter the apartment. A shocking picture awaited him in the apartment. The dead actress was sitting in an armchair, and in her hand, she had a telephone receiver. As the investigators found later, Zoya was killed by a shot in the back of the head from a distance of about 10 to 20 centimeters. The bullet went right through, piercing her left eye and the glass of her glasses on her nose. After the murder of Fyodorova, her relatives recalled a strange detail. Shortly before her death, Zoya complained that recently someone had been sending her photographs of her with gouged-out eyes by mail. Also strange was that the hair on the back of Zoya's head at the site of the wound was neatly set. It seemed the killer had brushed Zoya's hair. This initially confused the operatives who arrived at the apartment. And only when the operatives began to examine Fyodorova's face, they realized that she had been shot. The gun expert determined she was killed with a German Sauer 38H self-loading pistol. All the owners of such weapons were immediately found. In the USSR, only 3 people had such a gun. Sadly, all of them had an alibi. There were no signs of a burglary on the door lock. Fyodorova herself let her killer in, whom she obviously knew well. This was indirectly indicated by the fact that there were 2 cups and a plate of cakes on the table. Obviously, Zoya and the mysterious shooter had a friendly cup of tea. Also, Fyodorova practically never wore glasses in front of strangers. Besides, she did not let unfamiliar people into the apartment, talking to them through the door or in the yard. Her relatives immediately fell under suspicion, including the young grandnephew, who was removed from school for interrogation. Investigators did not rule out that Fyodorova's nephew Yuri could have killed her, but he had a strong alibi. On the day of the crime, he was at a reporting an election conference. However, despite this, Yuri was taken into custody for some time, because it was assumed that he was the instigator of the crime. But even this version was not confirmed in the end. Some of Zoe's friends recalled that on December 10th she was expecting a certain guest from France, but she never mentioned their name. It was never possible to establish who this man was. Other witnesses claimed that Zoya was expecting a friend from Stary Arbut Street, whose son lived in the United States. This friend was going to go to her son in the States, and the actress planned to transfer jewelry for Victoria through her. At the same time, the concierge who worked at the entrance told the investigators that on that fateful day only Nabokova and her nephew came to Fyodorova. There were no other visitors. Then the detectives assumed that the criminal entered through the attic and left the crime scene in the same way. After checking Fyodorova's notebook lying next to the body, the investigators were amazed. It contained more than 2,000 telephone numbers and about 1,500 postal addresses in Moscow and other cities. There were no obvious traces of a robbery in the apartment, but a ring worth 50,000 rubles, silverware, and a Matisse original painting disappeared. Soon the police managed to get on the trail of the speculator who sold the missing ring to Fyodorova. The operatives got information that he lives on Taganka and illegally owns a Sauer 38H pistol. Seeing the police, the speculator tried to run out into a taxi. Investigator Boris Krivoshin stopped the first passing car and ordered the driver to chase the taxi, and then ram it. But the taxi driver realized what the pursuer was up to and stopped. As a result, the speculator was detained, but he was not involved in the murder of Zoya Fyodorova. During a search in Zoya's apartment, the operatives noticed that there were many tags from jewelry on the floor and the shelves, but the detectives never found the jewelry itself. They did find a tiny secret storage room, which was packed with purses. The operatives found 3,000 rubles in one of them, and a gold chain in the other one. The rest were empty. But the purses could hardly have been the target of the killer. It was rumored that the actress kept a huge diamond in her apartment, which the criminal was hunting. According to other information, Fyodorova had a batch of precious stones ready for export in a suitcase, which the killer took with him. These versions were never officially confirmed, but the fact that Fyodorova could have been eliminated because of her underground diamond activities was quite likely. Thanks to her involvement in the diamond trade, the actress knew many criminals, and therefore could have been killed as a witness. The detectives did not rule out that after another refusal of permission to leave the country, Fyodorova blackmailed some high-ranking member of the diamond chain for which she received a bullet in the head. In addition, it turned out that shortly before the death of Fyodorova, she managed to transport one of the expensive paintings to her daughter in the United States. The actress assumed that the money from the sale would be enough for her and her daughter for a long time. But when Victoria tried to sell the painting, it turned out that it was fake. It is possible that Zoya, having learned about this, contacted the seller. Fyodorova might have demanded the money back, after which the seller killed her as he was afraid of exposure. The elimination of Zoya Fyodorova was also attributed to the KGB. Rumors that the actress has been working with the Chekists have been circulating since the 1940s. She was allegedly recruited back in 1927, after being arrested in the Pruv case. The accusation in the Pruv case was retracted by Genrikh Yagoda, the head of the Joint State Political Directorate, who ordered to leave the actress alone. The investigation failed to establish the charge incriminated to citizen Fedorova, and therefore would consider the case on Fedorova's accusation by the investigation to be terminated and transferred to the archive. It is possible that such loyalty of a high-ranking Chekist was connected precisely with Fedorova's agreement to cooperate. And her meeting with Jackson Tate could have been no coincidence. Perhaps Zoya had to find out as many state secrets as possible from Jackson. But feelings intervened in the matter. Fedorova's theoretic bosses did not like this, so her lover was hastily expelled from the country, and Zoya herself was sent to jail. However, her work for the KGB could continue after her release. Indirectly, this is confirmed by the fact that Fedorova was able to visit her daughter no less than 3 times in the USA. There are a lot of wild stories about Zoya's trips to the USA. One tells how the actress managed to secretly take out small precious stones from the USSR, sell them overseas, and give all the money to her daughter. On another trip, she bought several nylon fur coats for little money. Fyodorova resold these fur coats in the Soviet Union for 500 rubles each. And during her transplants in Paris, she met with a Soviet dancer who settled in the West, Rudolf Nureyev. Fyodorova sold him paintings and jewelry. It was rumored that the KGB provided the opportunity for such speculations. But in the 1980s, Fyodorova decided to go abroad forever. This was not suitable for the Chekists, and Zoya was shot. Screenwriter Eduard Volodarsky expressed his version of the crime. In his opinion, Fedorova could have been dealt with by her son-in-law, a pilot who often flew from New York to Moscow. In theory, he could come to his mother-in-law, shoot her and take the valuables. Accidentally or not, but it was after the death of Fedorova that her son-in-law became a major entrepreneur. The investigation into the murder of the actress took 2 years. 6 months later, it was transferred from the Ministry of Internal Affairs to the KGB and classified. During the entire investigation, about 4,000 witnesses were interviewed. But the case never came to court, falling apart at the stage of collecting evidence. Several years ago, the grandson of Zoya Fyodorova, who flew in from the United States, appealed to the Prosecutor General's Office of Russia with a request to recognize him as a victim in the case and resume the investigation into the murder of the actress, but this was never done. Zoya Fyodorova found her last resting place at the Vagankovsky Cemetery. Her only daughter Victoria was unable to attend the funeral. According to some reports, the Soviet authorities did not give her permission to enter. According to others, she was afraid to return to the USSR. She was sure that it would be dangerous. Victoria Fyodorova died in the United States in 2012. She was 66 years old. Yulian Semyonov wrote the novel, The Mystery of Kutuzovy Prospect, based on this murder. In 2010, director Vitaly Pavlov shot the television series Zoya based on the biography of Zoya Fedorova starring Irina Pogova.